sir.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Goodness gracious. How are you doing today, brother?
Today's well, man. I had a family call. So my family, we start this thing where on Saturdays, we set a time and we just talk. Man, it's my brother, my two sisters. We just talk. It's called Excavation. We branded it and we framed it and everything. And we just really just talk about I'm the youngest male. So imagine there's portions of my life we don't really remember 1 through 5, 6, 7, but they were around. So they just kind of help put together pieces, and we just share, we kind of go through our life. What's the first memory you remember? And then we just go all the way to current date. And today we've already done that. We're on the phone for 4 hours, 6 hours at a time. And this started right before quarantine. So it's been really cool. Right before the pandemic even hit. And,
what was the name of it? What was the name of it?
Excavation. I mean, it's a personal, it's an internal Bereola thing. You know what I'm saying?
Bereola. Hey, and if you also know, this is Enitan, Bereola, man, award-winning author, storyteller. I mean, speaking from however long I've heard about you, known about you, you're the gentleman of gentlemen. As far as being that, I think someone has said it. I think it was Kenji, like the pioneer in social influence. And I do appreciate you because there wasn't a lot of us.
Right.
There was not a lot of us. But what people don't know is that you have a deeper story. You have a deeper story.
Don't we all?
Man, we're going straight into it, man. I first and foremost, thank you for joining the platform, for joining the summit, man. We really appreciate you.
I mean, like I told you yesterday, man, it's something necessary that you're doing, and I appreciate the fact that you took something that was a conviction and a thought and idea, and you actually put it into place. So now here I sit, Julian chatted, Lincoln, Kenji's going, you know what I'm saying? You put the idea into motion, and I commend you for that. It's nothing to be like, yeah, I'll be a part of it. It's definitely a thing to put this thing together. So it's no easy task. So I definitely commend and appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Man, I've started these conversations just thinking about it, and I wanted to talk about it because not only are you, a creator, but you're also a father.
Yeah,
you're also.
It is a creator. Being a father is a creator. That's the ultimate creator.
Hey, I had my cousin yesterday. My cousin, he walked into the room. He said, "Where's my creator?"
No. My creator. I don't know if that's disrespectful for a kid to say, or that's like.
I don't know. I just never heard it.
Is he being fresh? Or is that honor? I don't know.
Well,
that's funny. My creator.
Yeah. But you're very multifaceted, man. But
Absolutely.
It's your story that I really wanted to jump into, and we really didn't dive into yesterday. But I wanted to go into that. Can we talk about the emotional repressions that you felt early on before the influential, the before you became the storyteller? Can we talk about the story, the emotional repression and suppression that you dealt with?
I mean, I think we all have a burden, right? Like we always have we have a huge burden on us, and the burden is like the pathway to our gift. Mm-hmm. And the burden is the thing that pounds on you. And sometimes when you're young, people get it at different times, this thing called purpose. And sometimes when you're young, there's like a tingling of it. A lot of times it's undefined when you're young. You don't quite know what it is. Other times there are folks who are young, and I was one of them, who kind of know that there's something greater than what they're experiencing in life, right? They feel like there's something greater. And I didn't know how to communicate it or identify it as a child. I would be in class, maybe in kindergarten, and be like, I'm looking around, and it's not that I'm smarter than people there or anything, but I feel like there's just something more for me, and this just isn't it. Right. And I felt like that practically all my life, right? until I was able to define, oh, there's a connection between the idea that you have a bunch of people who come to you for different things all the time, right? People who are older than you, people who are in your age group, and they're looking to you for something. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized that thing that they were looking for was leadership. And the way that I would utilize my leadership was wrong when I was young, because if you don't know the purpose of something, you misuse it. And a lot of us don't know our purpose, right? Like, we're trying to figure it out, so you misuse that. And for me, I was the go-to guy, like, well, yo, what are we wearing to the thing? Where is the thing that we're going? What girls can you get? So I knew I had the girls, I had I knew I was like the go-to guy, you know what I'm saying? And I would lead a pack, and there was a deep conviction in me when I was young for men to be men, right? And that wasn't even necessarily rooted in the toxicity of what manhood has been defined as. It was just the idea that a lot of times I would hear excuses, right? Like, I came from a great family, right? My parents divorced when we were young. I'd always hear stories about absentee fathers, and a lot of people in my, not necessarily my friend group, but a lot of the brothers around me, they didn't have their fathers in their lives. And as a direct result, their lives would take a different path, right? They may come over my house and, you know, we have our time together and they experience that, and then they go their separate ways. And these same kids, some of them were the homies, you know, they're getting in trouble, they're getting locked up, different things are happening. And I just couldn't accept the idea, although it is, I'm positive, challenging not to have a male figure in the house. I couldn't accept the idea that alone was enough to handicap you from all of the opportunities that we're all presented equally. You know, because some of these things, like, you know, some of these opportunities, particularly in high schools, like, yo, you're sitting in the same program that I'm sitting in. You're just not focused, like, or you're just, and look, there's a lot of trauma and things that happen. So I didn't discount that. I just didn't know how to define it as a child or as a high schooler, as a youth. But I just had the desire for brothers to move beyond their circumstance. And I couldn't, it always bothered me, but I couldn't get a grasp on what that was. But deep inside, it just disturbed me. So it's interesting that once everything, like my purpose and that desire, that burden kind of intersected, and it birthed, you know, this gentleman's guide, and it really trying to introduce to men through the first book that I wrote, Bereola, like, you know, there's a pathway to something better regardless of your circumstance. Like, this lifestyle is not relegated to the royal family or this white family or this well-to-do off family. Like, being a gentleman is available to all. And it's actually not corny at all. Neither is etiquette, neither are manners. It's just a way to navigate through society. It's using specific tools to get to what you want legally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, past circumstances shouldn't affect our greatness. But there's not enough commentary out there to say, hey, this is the way you should go. You know?
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, I knew that we had the innate desire to do better and want to be better. We just didn't have anything to validate those desires. You couldn't look at TV and be like, oh, that's what the person I looked up to is, that's how they're living. So, nah, it was all negative. It was all toxic. So that's what we kind of strived towards. You know what I'm saying? Like, even me growing up in the Bay Area in California, the music, you know, like, historically in the Bay Area is the most disrespectful to women, period. It's you got Too Short, you got, like, I mean, it's pimp culture. It's pimp culture in the Bay, right? So naturally, like, that music, although I'm a gentleman and that bleeds into you. So you're going to naturally kind of think in that same way, even if it's just a little bit of toxicity, right? A little bit of toxicity can still kill you. Let me see you drink a little bit of poison, just a little bit. Let's see what happens.
Oh, man. And you talk about toxic, you know, masculinity, man, and how we degrade our women in so many ways within our culture. In ourselves. Thank you. In ourselves. My question for you is, so you wrote Gentlewoman. Was that book some way, shape, or form, did that kind of like, was that provoked from some sort of, I guess, repression that you had gone through or experience that you had, as far as like redeeming yourself?
Listen, man, it's funny in the back of my mind, like the way that it's marketed is like, and not only marketed, but there's so many different truths to it, right? A multitude of truths, and one of them is that, I mean, women didn't have at the time, I believe, the language to adopt or identify with and champion. Like when you're in a room full of men and women, they say ladies and gentlemen. Like we get the title of gentlemen, but they're just ladies. At the time, like there was a distinction, I guess, sort of a loose distinction between woman and lady. Right? Like you're born, a girl, you grow into a woman, and then you can stop there. You have the choice to become a lady through, different avenues, class, and this thing, right? But I didn't feel like women had like anything to champion and rally around. And I personally knew, in my life, man, like there's so many dope women. My wife, my mom, my sisters, my cousins, my friends, my homegirls. There's so many dope, super, super dope women, and they just weren't represented commercially, just culturally, they weren't represented in a way that I thought was appropriate. So I was like, I desire to give them a voice based off of my own observations, but I didn't want to embark on that journey because there's too much rhetoric about what's wrong with women. I didn't want it to be taken in that way. Also, I was a playboy, man. I was a playboy for a long time, large part of my life. And
see, that's where that question stemmed from.
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of like redemption, man. Like, man, for all my wrongdoing, I'm atoning for my sins through this body of work. Please forgive me. Here is gentlewoman. In a way, it did feel at the time like it was like there was a redeeming quality about writing that book and really seeing women in. I wrote, to some of the women that I may have pained inadvertently, or I spoke to everything in that book, man. Every type of man, and it wasn't even spoke for every type of woman, and it wasn't even I wasn't attempting to like throw men under the bus in any way. I was just being honest.
Yeah. Oh, you good?
Are you frozen a little on your end? It's kind of choppy.
Am I choppy right now?
There you go. Your picture went out, but your voice is solid.
Okay. Sorry about that, man.
It's all good.
But yeah, man, I think that's powerful. That's a powerful quality, even like here, that you implemented that story from your experience, man, and it just adds a different dimension, another level to the context of those words within the book. But I also wanted to, I guess, really, really dive into like what. So I entitled this "The Man in the Mirror."
It's one of the chapters in the book.
Yeah, the man in the mirror. When you look at the man that you are today, what do you see?
I see a journey, man. Like I looked in the mirror the other day because I used to do this thing that was introduced to me by I had this girlfriend in college, and I went to her house for the first time. Her mom was there. And the first thing her mom said to me was, "Hey, come in the bathroom with me." I was like, "What is this? What kind of arrangement is going on here?" And we went to the bathroom. She's like, "Look in the mirror." I was like, "What the heck is she doing?" She's like, "Look at yourself." I was like, "Okay." She's like, "No, look at." I kind of like. She's like, "No, look at yourself." And if you never have done that, it's aside from like getting ready, like really like peering in at somebody behind you, peering at you as well, looking at you. It's like this very uncomfortable experience. And I was like visibly uncomfortable, but then I like zoned in and I really like was looking, and she saw all of that shifting, and she was watching and observing. And I think it's a test or something she would just kind of do, you know what I mean? In her own wisdom. And she was trying to make sure, I believe, that I saw, like I acknowledge the man that I was before entering their home and courting her daughter and all that. You know what I'm saying? It was actually very wise. But looking at yourself is something hard. That's difficult to do, and a lot of times I'd always look past myself in the mirror because I knew the truths in those eyes. I knew the truth in those eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew the experiences, the broken hearts, the playing, the cheating, all the craziness, man, and all the rendezvous, all the wild stuff.
Yeah.
I remember I got to a point, man, where I would look in the mirror and just be so full of joy and so proud. I don't like the word proud. Pride. I try to distance myself from pride. So I was full of joy. For the man that was looking back and all that he'd gone through, to be able to peer into his own soul and be full of gratitude. And it's a beautiful experience to be able to do that. Now, when I look, I see a journey. I see a greater purpose, a deeper purpose, because I see my son's eyes. I see my daughter's eyes when I look in the mirror.
Wow.
And it just makes everything I'm doing, it amplifies it, because it's so less about me and my individual goals. And it's really about tribe, and it's about community. It's something interesting that happens when you have children, and it just really increases your perspective, man.
Yeah.
It's the most selfless thing you can do. And aside from like laying down your life, and essentially it's the same thing, because you have no life when you have kids.
Man.
You have to maneuver life a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely implore every man on here, man, to, it sounds strange, but the practice of just looking in the mirror and looking beyond just the reflection, but actually going a little bit deeper. And a lot of people utilize meditation, prayer to get there. If that's too heavy for you, just look in the mirror and see if you can actually look at yourself and like get in there and look and let those thoughts pour in. And whatever pours in is likely the truth. You can't lie to yourself, man. People avoid that mirror because the most difficult thing that I've ever done is confront myself.
Wow.
And it's what the majority of humanity avoids. We have so many distractions, i.e. relationships, i.e. children, marriage, TV, social media, conferences, books, wine, art. Everything is a distraction, right? Like everything that takes you away from the truth, right? Anything that takes you away from what's present, what's real, what's happening now is a distraction. And the only time that we confront a piece of that usually is that second right before you go to sleep at night. But you quickly try to close your eyes and avoid it and get into the dream to avoid your reality. You may take a pill, you may sip something, you may watch TV till you fall asleep, but people hate confrontation with themselves, and it's highly evident in this pandemic. I was watching people just go crazy in their own way. Let me not say go crazy. People continue to run from themselves in their own homes, which is difficult.
Wow.
But I witnessed it, and I was just like, man, I really hope that people really understand that this is the greatest opportunity they'll ever have. Because I self-quarantined maybe 4 years ago in order to go through, voluntarily go through what people are forced to go through right now.
Wow, man. See, and that's important, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I said that's vital, man. We can't run from ourselves, man. It was years, man, and I'm gonna keep it so real with you. I had colorism issues, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had colorism issues, man. There was. I didn't know that I was attractive physically until I was around 20 years old.
No, I get that. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and there were all kinds of like 80s and 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like every joke was about like light skin, dark skin, light skin. And meanwhile, I'm in the middle looking like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I definitely, I'm Nigerian. Like my dad's Nigerian. My mom was from Cleveland, Ohio. So, my dad's like, he's dark, and I understand that whole conversation, man. And I saw the shift happen when it went from Al B. Sure to Wesley Snipes. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw when Tyson Beckford and Tyrese and Morris Chestnut, like that was the wave. You know what I mean? Like they finally identified that the juice is sweeter. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, but that's the stuff that we don't talk about as men, because we feel like, oh man, you too masculine, you a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like these vulnerabilities have to be shared in order for us to release this depression.
Yeah. There's a. What do you think about like what the when you date? What's the complexion that you historically, you know? Is there consistency in the complexion that you dated?
Well, early on, it was to be honest with you, and I'm gonna be frank. Early on, it was more chocolate woman. And then it went from chocolate women at that point to, I guess, like a mixture. It went to a mixture. It wasn't a preference, you know what I mean? I think I gravitated. I think I definitely gravitated more to the chocolate woman because of my mother complexion. I think that stemmed from, you know, my mother and that love for her. But I think there was like a shift that happened. I don't know if it was something that I internalized or had consumed, but I started looking at other ethnicities and other you know, other colors. Yeah, I don't know, man. So okay, so my producer told me to tell you about a story that I just recently ran into. Since we're talking about relationship and masculinity and just being a man, I think that this is really dope. We don't have this conversation, but I feel like this is a safe space, so I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Yeah.
In my experience as a darker skinned man, right? When I've dealt with, you know, I guess ladies of like a lighter complexion, I've always felt as if like those women were the women who would like have this this shell-like complex. Like they'll shut down quicker than the chocolate skin women who would, opposed to them, like face, like lean in. From my experience. So
you're saying they would
yeah, like circumstances, like our energies may clash, and the lighter complected women that I would be with, they would rather shut down, whereas the chocolate skin woman would be more so like, okay, now we're gonna talk about this. I don't know.
No. That's, look. I mean, I'm glad we're able to have this type of conversation in this space. You know, like colorism it's unfortunately a real thing.
It is.
Colonialism is real. European white supremacy. It's all these things are real, and the lighter it is, the closer you are to greatness, so to speak. Right? I don't obviously don't subscribe to any of that foolishness, but it's indoctrinated in our culture, beyond our culture globally. It's present. I remember being
problematic. It is problematic.
Yeah, I remember being in the Dominican Republic, and there was a woman that's probably darker than you, and she had a clip, like a clip. I don't know, but I guess an extension or a weave or whatever, like a clip. Like her hair was like really coarse right here, and it was like silky clip right here, right?
Oh, man.
Somebody was talking to her, sister was talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, you know, like our people, like us." And the lady, the woman looked at her, the Dominican woman looked at her like, "Us? I'm not one of you." And I'm looking at this beautiful dark black woman with coarse, beautiful hair up front and a silky piece in the back.
Yeah,
not one of. They've convinced you that you're not black.
Man,
so the DR has like a real, as you know, like Dominican Republic and Haiti. There's this strange thing going on there, and there's colorism there, and Cuba and all of it, right? Yeah. And you know, I think that folks who are of darker complexion identify more with being black, right? Because environmentally and circumstantially, they're always reminded of it. You can't like kind of like get away with it, like it. So I think the ability to want to confront confrontation or address an issue comes from trying to navigate society as a darker person and always being in confrontation. As like every time you step outside, it's confrontation. So eventually you adjust. There's a conversation out there about like black men who date white women. They say that, you know, oh, white women they're easier to, you know, they put up with more of my stuff and they're not as harsh as black women. I think it's kind of that same psychology. Yeah. And I asked you that question initially because I tend to, from an observation standpoint, of course it's not always true, but I usually see darker skinned brothers with lighter skinned women, and of course lighter skinned women with darker skinned brothers. And for me, I don't know the reason, but I ask, and when I say reason, it's like, what do you mean reason? But you have to question, there's motive and subconscious behavior that we exhibit and don't know why, but usually there's like, you can trace it back to something. And I know that sometimes folks who are light-skinned sometimes feel like I'm not XYZ enough, especially if they're mixed. But sometimes when it's light, they're fair skin. So they tend to lean toward a darker complected man to feel as though their identity is completed, right? Like I'm black, we black, like we in this, we got like this, we in this thing, you know what I'm saying? And then on the latter end, in the same way that you may see an NFL player, an NBA player, a Kanye West navigate through black women all their lives, they get the money, and they leave that ass for a white girl.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Foxx said it best.
Yeah. I tend to think that the same mindset of a darker skinned gentleman going with a lighter skinned woman is kind of rooted in that same. So it's like they're meeting each other. They're almost like trying to come out of that deficit that they felt and lean into like where they feel like they were incomplete. Now that's just my crazy mind. I don't know. I'm not a therapist.
No, I mean this is really good. Yeah. I mean, we needed to have this conversation, and yes, like I said, I mean, it's been through
Instagram and look at couples and see.
Yes.
You tell me what you see.
I mean, oh man, see. Here's the thing, like, I've been asked that question by other women, but I've never been the type to just say, "Oh yeah, this is my." I don't have a preference. There's just when I'm in that moment, that's who I gravitate toward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm the same way. Like I'm married now, but there was a point in time where I dated like intentionally like the brown skin, like Tatiana Ali, kind of like Chili from T, like, you know, like the wavy hair brown skin.
Yeah.
And I look back on that and I'm like, yo, I wonder if that was me trying to resolve that tension of like, okay, she's black, she's brown skin, but she got that wavy hair, which is more European. You know what I'm saying? At that young, immature age, if I was trying to be like, well, I got me a black girl, but she got that wavy, you know what I mean? And it ain't no wavy.
No, I understand you. I understand you.
No tracks, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But I mean, that was my young mind. But
yes.
I look back at that and I'm like, I wonder if that was me trying to resolve that tension.
I mean, and that goes back to our past traumas. I mean, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I told our guests we're gonna have a part 2 to this, because I do know that everyone that we've had have I mean, exceeded all expectations of everyone who's been involved and have tuned into this, you know, their mindset. So I'm just kind of blown away. I definitely want to continue this conversation in a part 2 within the next few weeks. I don't know when, but I do know that this is the safe space that is needed. And thank you for unmasking yourself within this platform, man.
Absolutely, brother. Look, man, like I told you, what you're doing is necessary. I appreciate you for taking on the task. We could definitely get into more at another day. There's a lot to unmask and uncover. We barely even tickle the surface here, but I'm in, brother.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And I believe that we have our last session coming up. But thank you so much, brother.
Brother, thank you, Marcus. Appreciate it.
All right.